So if you're playing with a rhythm section, obviously the bass player will be the guy that will play the walking bass line. However, if you're playing solo piano, it's equally effective for the piano player to play walking bass lines. And it's called a walking bass line because basically, rather than staying on a static note and just holding down the bass note of each chord, it doesn't just stay still, it starts walking and it walks to the next note rather than just jumping. It basically plays a note on each quarter note. The basic idea with walking bass lines, a good starting point, is to try and play the first beat of every bar. You want to play the root note of the chord. So say you have an F minor, you want the first beat of that walking bass line, you want it to be the root, so the F. And then say you have a B flat dominant 7 as your next chord, you want the first beat of that bar to be a B flat. And really that's the most important thing. You're just trying to make that root note each time, the first beat. You want to find a way to walk towards that root note of the chord. Now there are two main ways that you can walk to that note. You can either arpeggiate, which means take a chord symbol and play one note at a time. So here's a C minor 7, so you could go up, or you could go down. So that's one way you can move. The other way is by step, which basically means walking up and down through a scale. And really, it's just going to always be a combination of stepwise motion and arpeggiation. So if I have a big gap to bridge, I'll usually start out with arpeggiation and get myself close to the note at least. And then I might end the walking bass with some stepwise motion and even chromaticism if I'm too close. So let's take a 2-5-1 in C major. We'll have a D minor 7 as the 2 chord, G dominant 7 as the 5 chord, and a C major 7 as the 1 chord. So let's try and make a walking bass line. To start with, the first note of the bar is going to be the root note of the chord, which is D. And now we have 3 notes in which to get to G, because I'm going to play D minor 7 for one measure, and we're in 4/4, so there's 4 beats in the bar. First of all, we could try moving by step. Now, if we go up by step, we'll get there a beat early, but I might throw in a chromatic note. That's common. I'm going to talk about chromaticism later. That brings us to G nicely. I like that. So we have 3 notes to get to C. C's our next target. Let's try going downwards, change of direction, and I'll also change the stepwise motion to arpeggiation, so moving by leap. Let's just go down, some big leaps, come back to C that way. So I've arpeggiated the G dominant 7 chord. I've played these notes, and then we're home. So that that gives us this. Now let's try a second journey, because there's always going to be pretty much infinite possibilities of how you can do your walking bass lines. So let's try a different approach. Same 2-5-1. Let's start on D. Let's go up in arpeggio this time. So we'll go up each note of the D minor 7 chord. However, I still want to get to G. I don't want to keep going up. That's not going to help me get to G. That's not going to help. But I could just simply go down through this chromatic note. This is not in the scale of C major. But I could play an A flat to get to G. I could just walk down stepwise. Now, I've already used a few chromatic examples. Now I'm going to talk a bit more about chromaticism. First of all, chromaticism means moving by half steps. That's the chromatic scale, that's a C chromatic scale. And this can be handy, however you don't want to overdo this effect, because if you do it all the time, it really blurs the harmony too much. Really, you just want to use it when you're getting close to something and you need to stall it a bit, like you've got there too early, you've got to the next note too early and you just need to stall it a bit. So that's where chromaticism often comes in handy. For example, in the example I already showed you, I got close to the G too early, so then I stalled it by playing the F sharp. So it's common in bass lines to hear this sort of thing. Lady Bird is a lovely jazz standard. Here's how the original sounds. So now let's try applying a walking bass line to this chord progression. So we start on a C major 7. I have it sustained for 2 bars, and my aim and my target note is an F. That's the note of the next chord coming up. So I've got some time to fill. I've got 2 bars to fill. I'm going to actually arpeggiate the chord symbol and see where I end up. Arpeggiate it, and then I'll probably come down. And where am I? I'm on an E. That's perfect. That's a half step away from F. So we have an F minor 7. My next target note is a B flat. That's a B flat dominant 7 coming up. I'm going to do this pattern, which I use a lot on my 2-5-1s. So go up by arpeggio, arpeggiate an F minor chord, and then walk down by half steps to the B flat. Now we have a B flat dominant 7. My next target note is a C, but I've got 4 notes to get there. So I'm not going to fiddle around up here, I'm going to jump down. Can't see that off the camera. I just jump down, B flat, F, B flat. Now I'm going to do a chromatic. moving up to the C. I can do the same. We have a C major 7 sustained for 2 bars again. My target note this time is B flat. Now I'm pretty close to B flat, so I'm not going to do what I did last time when I was aiming for the F. This time I'm just going to move down through half steps, which will bring me perfect timing to the B flat. Here it is in slow motion.